Welcome to our Grace United Church worship service. I am standing at Camp Simpresca, one of the camps of our United Church in Shining Waters region. For those of you who have been at Camp Simpresca, you will know that where I am standing, I am near the fire pit, which is just over this way, the dining hall, which is behind me, and the beautiful beach, which is just a very short walk away. We're celebrating the United Church anniversary. That's one of the reasons that we're here today. The other reason is because this is a time of year when we would normally be here as Grace United Church. But sadly, that doesn't happen this year. We look forward to the next time we can be here. Because it is so quiet right now, you may be able to hear the sound of the waves, the birds, the wind in the trees. It is altogether a beautiful place. And so we gather acknowledging the sacredness of creation around us. We gather on sacred land, made holy by those who have come before us, children of God who have cared for this land. From many tribes and nations, the Anishinaabe, Wata First Nation, Métis, and Inuit. Together we are one people with many tribes. We worship one God with many names. We come along many paths, but together we journey as God's children. We are called to reconciliation together. Today I'm joined by our music director, Sandra Rattan, and also our youth ministries coordinator, Jeffrey Dale. We have several vocalists who will be participating in the service, as well as some others who will be speaking about our United Church anniversary. And so we gather, acknowledging the sacredness of creation, called by God to recognize and center ourselves in the beauty of what God has given to us. Let us acknowledge the gift of this day, the blessing of one another, those we walk with and share the road of life with. And let us remember also our call to invite others to walk with us as we journey, to share with them, to work for justice. From the north and the south, from the east and the west, from Camp Simpresca and from Barrie, we are all called together to worship and to serve. Let us pray. Holy One, we gather in this space, reminded by the sounds of life all around us, that you are a God of life. You are a creating God who speaks to us in wind and rain, blossoming plants and the sound of water. Every moment is a new beginning with you, O God. Every second a reminder of your love. Bless our thoughts and prayers, that they might be filled with the promise of life. Bless our words and songs, that they might become actions of love and justice. In a time of change and uncertainty, be our hope and our peace. Amen. Let us join in singing Shadows and Substance, More Voices, number 44. Please join together and sing with us. I have a personal connection to Camp Simpresca. It's one that goes back many years when I was younger. But the history of Camp Simpresca is even older than that. It started many years ago, more than 70 years ago, when a group of churches got together and decided that they really wanted children to have an outdoor experience. They wanted them to understand the God of creation. They wanted them to build community with each other. And so they went looking for a piece of land, which they found. But then who's going to pay for it? Well, so the story goes. A woman named B. Doidge, a nurse in Barrie, married to Dr. Art Doidge, did some gentle arm twisting, found some doctors and a dentist who were willing to put up the money to buy this piece of land. Then the churches got busy. The churches, the congregations of Simcoe Presbytery, put up the supplies and the labor, and they built cabins for the camp. In fact, the cabin that is right behind me is one that was built by my father, Glen Eagle, with his congregations of Creemore, Mount Zion, and Avening. The camp was opened in 1949, and since then, thousands of children have come here, some whose lives have been changed by the experience. I myself came here as a teenager for a youth leadership event. And since then, I've been coming with my congregation at Grace each year when we come for a weekend retreat. Sadly, not this year. But that doesn't undermine the significance of this camp. I want to acknowledge on this United Church Anniversary Sunday the vision of people who dreamed this camp into existence and then worked to make it happen. I want to acknowledge the volunteers today who still make the camping experience possible. It may not be open right now, but it will open again. The camp waits for the future, when new campers will come and have the marvelous and wonderful experience that I did.
Today, when we're celebrating the 95th anniversary of the United Church of Canada, we're proud to be a part of that. We grew up in little United churches in the country, and then when we had a family, we decided we wanted a larger church and more activity. So we moved to our congregation just in the east end of Barrie, which became Grace United. The building was just a hole at that time. And so we watched it from the very beginning, and it was filled with young families and intergenerational people making a congregation. And it's been a busy congregation for 58 years, and we've been proud to be a part of it and proud to be part of the journey to be an affirming congregation that's inclusive of all people.
Hi. As you can see, I'm in a different location right now. I'm outside of Grace at the freshly painted walkway that we see. This was lovingly painted by Michelle and Sherilyn, by Alex and Abby and Madeline and Sean, and we're so grateful for their contribution to the church. This is going to be a bit different of a story today, but it's a story that I want to share with you. My first experience at the Pride Parade was with the United Church of Canada. I was fresh and new to St. Mark's United Church in Toronto, in Scarborough, and they invited me to join them on their Pride Parade float. Well, I thought, why not? What a great way to meet new people from my church. And I remember being very quiet and sort of nervous because I was going to be around people that I didn't know, but I got on the float and we started heading down Bloor Street, and there was lots of people, and we were waving and cheering at them, yelling out, "Happy Pride! Happy Pride!" And as we turned from Bloor Street onto Yonge Street, all I saw was a sea of people, a sea of joy, and a sea of love. People weren't just yelling Happy Pride anymore. They were yelling everything and anything that was love, abound. And I remember, as I looked to my right, I saw one woman yell out, "Hey, the United Church, I belong to you." And without thinking, I shouted back at her, "No, we belong to you." That is our commitment. Our commitment is not to try to say, "Come, join us, belong to us," but rather, "Come, let us belong to you." Sometimes we can get that so right. Sometimes we don't. When I first came to Grace, the story that was shared with me was about Grace's relationship with a young man who died of HIV/AIDS and how they supported and loved and cared for him. So, during Pride Month, and seeing this walkway reminds me that as we come to this church, we are welcomed radically, personally, and as inclusively as possible. And I'm excited that in this Pride Month, we get to say to ourselves, here, physically and as permanently as paint can possibly be, you are home.
Hi, I'm Mary Greiner. I was raised in the Catholic Church in Michigan and also married there, and then I moved to Ontario. When I met my forever husband in Toronto, I decided to join Kingston Road United Church, and Reverend Ted Davey was the pastor who married us. Not only was there a UCW there, but also a working women's group where I was able to meet people my age and become part of a caring faith community. When we moved to Barrie to raise our family, Grace United was the closest church, and I met Reverend Art Story. He thought my idea of a mom and tots group was a great idea to meet new people, and that is where I met Wendy Brown, Carrie Hatton, and other mothers and children. I always liked the inclusive nature of Grace, whether mentally or physically challenged. Age, race, or orientation didn't matter. I loved to hear Larry sing Amazing Grace. Here I found another warm, inclusive faith community to call home, and I'm still here after 30 years.
However you interpret what is written in the Bible, listen now for the meaning these words hold for you. The first reading is from Genesis 18, verses 1 to 15, reading from the Message Bible. God appeared to Abraham at the oaks of Mamre while he was sitting at the entrance of his tent. It was the hottest part of the day. He looked up and saw 3 men standing. He ran from his tent to greet them and bowed before them. He said, "Master, if it please you, stop for a while with your servant. I'll get you some water so you can wash your feet. Rest under this tree. I'll get some food to refresh you on your way, since your travels have brought you across my path." They said, "Certainly, go ahead." Abraham hurried into the tent. He said, "Hurry," into the tent to see Sarah. He said, "Hurry, get 3 cups of our best flour, knead it, and make bread." Then Abraham ran to the cattle pen and picked out a nice plump calf and gave it to the servant, who lost no time getting it ready. Then he got curds and milk, brought them with the calf that had been roasted, set the meal before the men, and stood there under the tree while they ate. The men said to him, "Where is Sarah, your wife?" He said, "In the tent." One of them said, "I'm coming back about this time next year. When I arrive, your wife Sarah will have a son." Sarah was listening at the tent opening just behind the man. Abraham and Sarah were old by this time. very old. Sarah was far past the age of having babies. Sarah laughed within herself. An old woman like me get pregnant with this old man of a husband? God said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh, saying, 'Me have a baby, an old woman like me?' Is anything too hard for God? I'll be back about this time next year, and Sarah will have a baby." Sarah lied. She said, "I didn't laugh," because she was afraid. But he said, "Yes, you did. You laughed." May the Spirit bless us with wisdom and wonder as we ponder the meaning of these words for our lives.
You laughed. I did not laugh. You did so laugh. I heard you laugh. I did not laugh. So begins and ends God's conversation with Sarah, and a year later laughter, or Isaac, is born. What a fascinating way for the writer of Genesis to introduce Sarah's relationship with God and the beginning of the life of Isaac. Why add this detail of an anecdotal history, an oral tradition of storytelling, except perhaps to give us another view of God as life-giving, passionate, conversational, and relational. And it brings Sarah to life for us as well, as an oh-so-human participant in religious history. God sits at our table and brings us to the laughter of disbelief with the promises that God makes to us. Yet it is God's ability to nurture our minds and spirits and souls that enables us to live with the joy of hope. Sarah and Abraham are old, very old, we are told, and no amount of praying or hoping has brought them the child that they wished for. Now, via strangers who seem a little more than mortal, Sarah is given a message that she is going to give birth. And she laughs, not in joy, but in disbelief. Disbelief that anyone could make her this promise. So we are introduced to the intimate relationship that we are offered with a God who not only loves and forgives us, but holds out to us a hope that is seemingly impossible. Old Testament stories tell us that when God comes to visit, things change. Was this experience of Abraham and Sarah offered as something unique just to them? Or are we being invited to take another look around us at the ways in which we may be entertaining God as a stranger or friend who brings us some good news? Does God visit our homes and put time-weary elbows on our table? Does God offer us the age-old face of wisdom and familiarity that understands our yearnings and gives us hope for a different kind of future? This story of Abraham and Sarah is fanciful and metaphoric, but I do believe there are ways the Spirit speaks to us through daily encounters and open hearts that listen. But in speaking to us, that Spirit may judge some of our closed-mind assumptions about reality. One of those assumptions is about hierarchy and deservedness. We live in a world of stereotypes and personal judgments. We keep score and monitor deservedness and make distinctions between those who are worthy and those who are not. I was disappointed this week to see the Prime Minister criminalizing the CERB, the support payments for people who are unemployed. Will there be some people who make mistakes? Yes. Are there some people who are going to dishonestly take advantage of this program? Of course there are, because every system has cheats. And there are ways already in place to reclaim the money. The tax system can identify those overpayments and claw them back. The decision to set up fraud investigations speaks more to the need to maintain deservedness and punish people than to getting the money back. What do we do then with a Christian theology that says the best things in life are free and undeserved by all of us? It is a theology that removes the burden of judgment and sets us free to be a blessing in God's world. Mostly, I think that we have for centuries ignored that theology, as we have so often espoused the virtue of not getting anything for free, but only what is deserved or what is earned. And so we have negated the message of God's love, God's mercy, and God's forgiveness that's there for all of us. We have perhaps forgotten that we are invited to love mercifully as we have been loved, without keeping score to measure by our own puny human standards as to who is worthy and who is not. When we free up our judgment of others, we are set free ourselves to recognize God's undeserved love for us and not feel guilty but grateful. German mystic Angelus Silesius was so convinced that love was the very essence of God that he dared to write, "If God ceased to think of me, God would cease to exist." And preacher William Sloane Coffin commented, "I love the gall, the absolute certainty it took to make a statement of faith like that." A God who sits at our table and offers us love reminds us that we are redeemed and loved not because we deserve it, but because God loves us and invites us not to judge the world, but to love it. And that brings me to the next part, the laughter of God. God's love and acceptance of us sets us free to laugh and reclaim the joy of creation. How serious we adults seem to get. How seriously we take ourselves. Recently, I was remembering taking a confirmation class to visit the National Church offices, and the group of young people jumping up and down in the elevator and then watching as all the other occupants of the elevator got off at the next stop. Seeing pictures of our youth group this week, painting our rainbow sidewalk outside the church doors, reminded me of how much fun people are. Young people especially, who have not yet become as serious as we adults all seem to get. In his book Laughter, Alan Skeach writes, "Laughter is the gift of creation. It is fundamentally an act of celebrating existence. In the foolishness of the child there resides something of the wisdom of God." And he cautions us with this thought. We see ourselves as most religious and reverential, if not a little godlike, when we are at our dreariest and dullest. Ouch, that hurts. So perhaps we need to laugh a little more. Robert Munch has always understood the need to stay in touch with light and laughter. He finishes his children's story Giant with this description of God as a young girl. Then she started to laugh. She laughed till the mountains shook, rivers moved, and stars changed directions. For a little girl, she had an enormous laugh. Finally, let us add to God's love and laughter a third part, hope. The God who comes to visit us does not leave without offering us hope. Whether it is the concrete hope of a child that Sarah received, or the hope of a world that can live in peace, God reminds us that this is God's world. Emily Dixon writes, "Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all." a God who visits us to bring love and mercy, to laugh with us even in our disbelief and cynicism, and who encourages us with hope, encourages us not to give up. That is the God who visits us today, sitting at our table, waiting for our gracious hospitality. Tarry with us, O God of creation and laughter and hope. May we make you feel welcome in this place. Stay with us until all creation rings with laughter, not laughter of disbelief, but laughter of hope. You laughed. No, we didn't. Well, yes, we did. First in disbelief, then tentatively, cautiously, and then all together in a whooping celebration of you, O God, and all that you have given us. May it be so, O lively Spirit. Amen. And now let's hear some joyous music from our online choir, and then let's return to Camp Simpresca.
You've got to brighten up my soul. Brighten up my soul. You've got to brighten up my soul. Brighten up my soul. You've got to brighten up my soul. If I'm to carry the heavy load, you've got to brighten my soul with sunshine. Light up my soul. Brighten up my soul. You've got to brighten up my soul. Brighten up my soul. You've got to brighten up my soul. If I'm to carry the heavy load, you've got to brighten my soul with sunshine. I'm in trouble and I need you, Lord. The devil's calling and he's pulling hard, and I don't know if I can make it through unless you brighten my soul with sunshine. Light up my soul. Light up my soul. Brighten up my soul. If I'm to carry the heavy load, you've got to brighten my soul with sunshine. Oh, don't you hear me calling, Lord, Lord? I'm hanging hard onto the good word, and I don't know if I can make it through unless you brighten my soul with sunshine. Light up my soul. Light up my soul. Brighten up my soul. If I'm to carry the heavy load, you've got to brighten my soul with sunshine, sunshine, sunshine.
Hi, I'm standing here today in front of my two favorite pieces of art at Grace United Church at the back of the sanctuary. These stained glass windows were created by Reverend Art Story, who is the Minister Emeritus here at Grace United Church. The stained glass windows tell the story of many people gathered around one common cup. I was asked today to share with you what the United Church of Canada means to me. And when I think about the United Church of Canada, I think of images like these two. The United Church of Canada is a place that strives to be as inclusive as possible, strives to be a place that engages, encourages, and recognizes while acknowledging people's gender, sexual orientation, race, background, and tries to welcome them in. Welcome them through the doors, but also through and into the hearts of its many members. I didn't grow up in the United Church of Canada. I came as an employee first and foremost. I have stayed because this church has taught me a great deal about myself, about my life, and it has allowed me to engage with so many different people from so many different walks of life, all around one common purpose. And I believe that common purpose is to love one another while respecting, encouraging, and acknowledging each other's existence.
It is truly a gift to be able to be here at Camp Simpresca today, to be here with so much of God's creation all around us. I want to acknowledge the ways in which you continue to support the Grace Ministry, not only with money and with time, but also the talents that you are sharing as members of the congregation, reaching out to help other people. Let us pray. Giver of life, as we acknowledge your love for us, so we are filled with gratitude. We bring our offerings of money and time and talent, that they may be a breaking open of abundant love to the world. Amen. Each week I remind you to check the grace letter that goes out by email to each of you. There is important information there. Also the prayer list that is always attached so that you know what's happening with pastoral care concerns in our congregation. The official board of Grace has made a decision that we are not going to be opening our building for a while. Both safety and inclusivity are important to us. We are not yet sure that we can reopen safely. And so we are looking at down the road before that will be able to happen. In the meantime, we will continue to worship online together. Please be in touch with us to let us know how you're doing. Let us pray. God, in the warmth of the summer, we come to you looking for calm and refreshment. You are the shepherd who leads us beside still waters, the housewife who searches until she finds us as lost treasures. You are the wind that blows through our tired minds. You are the stillness that reminds us who we are and whose we are. Holy One, we confess that we take advantage of your world around us. You give us cool water and we throw garbage into flowing streams and spoil lakes with accidents that cause pollution. You give us creative minds and beauty to enjoy, but we misuse our talents and fail to appreciate what we have. You give us stillness and we fill it up with noise. Renew us, Holy One. Help us to see your beauty of creation and learn from the wisdom of your Spirit. God of the universe and also the still small voice within us, we yearn for community and finding our way back to the normal again. And yet you lead us along new paths, places where we can learn new ways of inclusion and compassion and justice. Give us thankful hearts, O God, as we rediscover the sacredness of life and acknowledge all the gifts of living that we have sometimes been too busy to recognize. We give thanks for those who work to recreate this world and who persist with spirit and creativity. May we learn to live in a new way. May we hear and see creation all around. May we open our hearts to the places in your world where there is racism, woundedness, and fear. May we work for a world where there is equality and justice. Give us courage for living, compassion and generosity as we discover what we can do. Amen. Inspired by the Spirit, we go to breathe hope into a world of despair. Moved by the example of Jesus, we walk the difficult path of discipleship. Blessed by God's grace, we are called to be a blessing to others. Go in peace. Amen. Let's join together in singing our closing hymn.
We cannot own the sunlit sky, the moon, the wildflowers growing, for we are part of all that is within life's river flowing. With open hands receive and share the gifts
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah. I'm on the board of directors for Camps in Prescott, and I thought I'd jump on here and just kind of say hello and thank you so much for your support over the years, and share a bit about camp and kind of what's going on right now. So as everyone knows, COVID-19 is kind of put a hold on the camping industry this year, and the government has said that we can't operate this year, which is such a shame. That means that we can't do our spring rentals as well, and we, so much look forward to, seeing everyone in the spring. We know you guys come up and do your retreat. I had the pleasure of meeting a whole lot of you last year, if you remember. So this year is looking a lot different for Camps in Prescott. It's been a gem of the ministry for so many years. This would have been our 71st year of camp, and we're so upset that we can't run the way we usually do this year. But we are still here. We do plan on operating next year. We do recognize and appreciate all the support from the ministry. We do know that camp wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for you guys. I know that we look so forward to seeing you guys next year. So we're all in this together. Let's try and stay positive. We'll make it through, and we hope everyone has a wonderful summer, and we hope to see you again next year. See you later. Bye.